You guys mind answering some questions about what happened in this situation?
Sure.
Nice one. Let's start with a more general one. What can you guys take from this situation? What's your conclusion?
Would you like to start? Sure. Well, as I said earlier, while being on the mic, I think it's a time of a new Russia and a new stage of Russia, and this is definitely not a good thing at the moment because, it's not the first opposition person murdered by this regime. It's not the first person to be in prison in horrible, almost gulag conditions. But this is definitely a person who symbolized a lot of hope for Russian people, and these people didn't necessarily agree with Navalny, but they still saw some potential change that was coming with him. And I hear a lot today from people saying that their dreams has crushed and there is no future for this country anymore. And also I see a lot of people sort of trying to cheer each other up and remind that Navalny said not to give up and continue fighting. But it's definitely a very dark day today, and it's similar in the feelings of what is going on. It's very similar on 24th of February 2022 when the war in Ukraine started, but you just wake up, you look at the news and you realize that your life is not going to be the same. The world that you're living in is not going to be the same.
Absolutely. What about you? Would you like to add something?
Well, yeah, it's a very sad day, and we hope that Navalny's fame abroad would give him some protection, but there was an attempt to poison him before, and he was in prison. He was in terrible conditions for many months, and we don't know whether it was natural or it was another poisoning or some intervention, so it's terrible.
Do you guys think this will be a rally cry for the Russians to start acting, to change the regime?
A few opposition people abroad called for Russians to go on the street and protest. I would say that we as people with Russian passports but not living in Russia are not in the position to call for people to go on the streets because we're not there. We are not on the streets in Moscow, so I think morally we don't have the right to do that. But I would expect some reaction to this in the Russian society. But I think it's we're going to see what's going to happen in the next couple of days because Navalny's lawyer only making it there tomorrow morning, so we still haven't got the official confirmation of Navalny's death from his family or lawyers. We only hear it from the embassy, so we don't know what actually happened there. We haven't seen or heard what's the state, where his body is, etc., etc., etc. We genuinely know nothing what happened there, and I think it's depending on what will be uncovered in the next few days, and more importantly, how the rest of the world is going to react. It will affect what's going to happen with the Russian people, because if again everyone in the world will ignore this, and everyone in the world will see it as just some Russian problem, they will feel alone, and they're definitely not going to go on the street. But if they know that they're supported, then they will, and they will, I hope, eventually succeed in changing this regime.
Do you guys think this will be a regular occurrence? Russians coming here protesting in front of the Russian embassy?
Our organization has been doing it since the beginning of war, Russian Democratic Society. We're Russian Democratic Society, so we're a group of Russians who are against the war in the beginning of a full-scale invasion in 2022. So we started, originally we were going every week, I think, or every couple of weeks. Now we meet here a bit.
In front of the embassy.
Yes. We also did a couple of big protests on the Parliament Square. We're also going to march on 25th of February from Marble Arch to here. Because it's going to be 2 years after the start of the full invasion, Russian full invasion, and we call all our allies to join us with this. And we're also expecting in March around the election time something happening. Yeah, but you can definitely see in the last few years that Russians are much Russians living in London are much more into politics, I would say, and started to come here in bigger numbers than it was before. I've been here for more than 10 years, and I just saw this kind of switch from like a few people, sort of middle old age, change to like people who work in IT, who are like in their 20s, who are students coming here. And I think a lot of it was because of Navalny, because it all started when Navalny was poisoned originally, and there was like a massive protest here even during the COVID.
Okay, nice. Do you? Is there any other organization in London besides yours that does this kind of thing?
Well, we represent sort of the white Russian immigrants and their allies who are pro-democratic values, who are against this regime, who are against Putin. There are a few other organizations made by Russian speakers in London who are covering slightly different topics. So, well, another similar organization to us is Free Navalny London. So it's the Navalny team who are called...
Which one, sorry?
Free Navalny London.
Free Navalny London.
Yes, so these are the guys who are coming directly from AFK, is called in English, the organization by Navalny. So their representatives are here, and they also organize the protests. There is also a queer community for people in Eastern Europe and Central Asia called Queer Dom. They're quite popular. There is also a very important group called Indigenous People of London. They're called Yurt now, and they've been actually doing their protest dedicated to Bashkortostan situation in the last few days, and as far as I know, they will continue to do so.
It was pretty intense when they did the protests, and they were persecuted, and their wives were telling the husbands to come back from the front line. It was very intense. I'd like to ask you one last question.
Absolutely.
Do you agree with Navalny's opinion on Crimea, or do you think he was wrong about that?
I mean, honestly, I think it's like every time we talk about it, I think it's like he already said so many things on top of that, what in my opinion was honestly just not the best thing to say. So that thing about the sandwich that you cannot
Crimea is not a sandwich.
Crimea is not
to give it away.
Exactly. It's like I personally believe that this was not the best thing to say in the moment, but we also know that Alexei Navalny was very consistently against the invasion of Ukraine before the full-scale invasion of 24th of February 2022. He had his opinion on the war was very consistent. It's like we're now living in a slightly different reality where we're dealing with the fact that he might have died in prison. But before, I was answering this question in the following way: it's like if he gets out of prison and he's gonna run for some position, or he's gonna go to the media, we can all ask him what he thinks about Crimea. We can agree with him, we can disagree with him. It's like his views on Crimea has nothing to do with the fact that he shouldn't be in prison in the way that it's like in this gulag prison that he's in. He shouldn't be poisoned, no matter what we think about what he thinks about Crimea or we think about Crimea. And he shouldn't be murdered in prison for just being the main opposition guy. Yeah, sure. It's like I think Navalny said, like apart from Crimea, there's been quite a few other things that were at the very least questionable. But at the same time, Navalny was a politician, and politicians tend to say things, and then sometimes they change their minds, and sometimes they evolve in what they're thinking, and I think it's absolutely okay.
Think he might have said it because it was popular at the time?
I think it was, yes.
I see. He didn't really believe it, but you think he said it to get more people to...
I mean, again, every time people talk about Navalny, I feel like they talk about him like a real politician who like does politics every day. They don't talk about him like as someone who is stuck in prison, who's been poisoned, who's been almost murdered, and who is currently not in the position to have like an equal conversation with any of us. Because it's very easy for us to, stand in front of the embassy in Kensington and think it's like whether Navalny would be a good president. I don't know if Navalny would be.
Last question.
Yeah.
Do you think there's still a possibility for a legal and fair for a legal and fair re-election in Russia, for a change of power in a peaceful and by-the-book way? Or do you think the only way is just change it from the outside, or a revolution or something like that?
Honestly, like, I don't know after today. I genuinely, like, I don't know what's gonna happen next, because I feel like before, like, today and the change of the regime, there are so many events that can happen in between. There are so many things that can go right or wrong.
Yeah.
So, for example, we're about to have a so-called election on 17th of March in Russia, right? Where we will, like, Russia will be re-electing Putin, right?
Well, yeah, I heard this joke that Putin is running for the position of Putin.
Exactly. You know, it's like, but I personally, like, a lot of people think that it doesn't matter. Everything is like, all the results are bought. I think that we already saw in preparation to these elections people queuing to leave their signature for for Nadezhdin, yes, for one of the people who are not Putin.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure
And
that
then the other lady was put in jail.
yes,
Right.
yeah. Well, she was not actually, but she wasn't.
put in jail?
No, she's currently starting a new party. If you talk-
Interesting.
yeah. No, she wasn't, but she also wasn't allowed to run or anything.
Okay, so she was simply removed. She
She was
wasn't
removed
in
from the
prison,
prison. No, they like stopped her, but nothing else happened. Yeah, but you know, it's like there is before today and 17th of March, a few things can happen. Like, what if, you know, it's like all the people who are absolutely shocked today by the news of Navalny, you know, go and vote, as Navalny says, for anyone against Putin. Like, if theoretically everyone who thinks that what happened today in Russia is wrong, go put their signature, you know, it's like, it will be slightly different situation already. If everyone goes there and queues at like noon against Putin on 17th of March, and people see each other, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's like, I think the problem with undemocratic countries is the fact that you don't know when it's gonna blow up. And it's like the beauty of democratic countries, where it's like sometimes you have to make a choice between worse and even worse. Sometimes you have to make a choice between better and worse. Yeah, it's like sometimes you know, you choose between Biden and Trump, and sometimes you have to choose between Biden and Trump 4 years later. Yeah, like, you know, it's like, but if you do get Trump, it's still for a few years, and after that you're gonna have someone else, and then after that it's gonna be someone else.
Unless he messes things up beyond repair, unless that happens. But you know, I know I said last question, but this is the really last question.
Okay.
Sorry, just one more. So it seems like this is a relatively reminiscent situation to the situation with Prigozhin, except Prigozhin was a representative of the far right, of the hardliners, when Navalny is the representative of the opposition of Putin, of the people who are more pro-West, who are more liberal, more democratic. When Prigozhin, before Prigozhin got killed, there was almost a coup in Russia. They were really close to a coup. Do you think there is a high likelihood or low likelihood of an actual coup, of some sort of revolution in Russia now?
See, I'm not sure that it's like if Prigozhin made it to Moscow, we would have a proper coup. Like, I'm still not convinced that this is, because like,
Probably saw that he had low likelihood of succeeding, and that's why he
and it's like the numbers of people who are with them is reported by him, and you know, we all know that we like to slightly increase the numbers. So I don't know. I genuinely don't have an answer for this, because like at that point it didn't feel like we're about to have a coup, but it sounded crazy. It's like right now, maybe, but it's like, again, I think that it's like we're just gonna see things like going worse and worse and worse, and then at some point it's just gonna blow up, because this is what usually happens under regimes like this. So it will be over one day. I don't think it will be over in a good way, but we can still hope.
Very rosy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Cheers.
answering our
Thank
questions.
Which media are you from?
We come from the Ukrainian rally. Actually, we just came straight from 10 Downing Street. We were
right.
doing some speeches there.
I
We
see.
do them every week, you know,
Yeah,
on
yeah, yeah,
Wednesdays,
yeah. No, I
Fridays,
come.
and,
I come to those. Yes.
and Sundays. Yeah, feel welcome
Yeah.
to join us.
Yeah, yeah.
Bring
No,
some-
I
bring
come
some
visit
people.
you quite often. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Bye,
See you
Siva.
later.